I see it.
Okay,
There it is.
there you go.
Perfect. We use Teams over here and then WebEx. So I feel like I'm like trying to learn every different type of, let's see here, we'll do desktop one. Cool. Oh, this is nice. All right, let's see if I can do this. Whoop, hello. Sweet. Okay. You can see this, hopefully. So what I'm going to kind of share with you all is, so I work on the LifeProof brand for Otter products. You guys probably have heard about us. You probably have heard about our mobile cases and accessories. Most of you probably have heard of OtterBox. LifeProof is a little bit lesser known, more well known for our waterproof phone cases. So we've actually shifted the brand and started becoming more of a sustainable phone case brand. But I was just going to kind of show you all sort of like an overarching brand campaign that we've built in-house, and then sort of how we get from sort of like that beginning to the middle to the end, and then kind of like how does each and every team sort of like push into this overarching brand campaign. So this isn't all specific around public relations. I feel like there's a lot of people, especially myself, whenever I was in as a PR major and a journalism major, I wasn't specifically wanting to like only be in public relations. I kind of wanted to understand like the full gamut and everything else that kind of plays within a brand, not only just the public relations aspect of it. So I was going to kind of show you, we had this overarching brand campaign called Live Full Time. It's kind of like the main campaign that we were sort of overarching, basically. I'm just going to kind of show you this. I don't know if you'll be able to hear any of this, but you'll kind of get the gist of like what this campaign was. So to give you a little bit of background though, LifeProof is a little bit more, it skews a little bit younger. So we call them the youthful active adult. We have established a persona, and we established like sort of our target audience of who we would like to reach or who we're going after. So really what we did was we understood that, we've established that. Now we're building an overarching campaign that then ladders into that. So all of our media, all of our public relations, all of our social, everything kind of lives and breathes this ethos of the brand. And this is kind of it. So I'll see if this works.
Hey, we know you're not
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
Good. Busy living. Busy living.
All right, it's going to be a
another
little
ad about other people pretend to be living. So, you are watching this?
All right, well, that's rough. So we'll just kind of go on from this, but I can share these with you all later, so you can get a little bit of a gist of what's going on. Oh, now it's going to work?
No, you're not watching.
All right, well, let's move on. We'll go to the mood board and you can kind of just see it from there, not through a video. But this is kind of the vibe that we're going with for Live Full Time. It's very like outdoorsy, it's active, it's fun, it's youthful. So again, we call them the youthful active adult for a reason. It's usually between like the ages of like 20 to 40. They're kind of like this middle level success in their life. So they also have a disposable income. So they're willing to spend a little bit more money for a phone case. So like our free case, for example, typically runs at around $90. It's a fully protective submergible phone case. And then we have, cases that kind of drop in value after that. So this is kind of like the vibe. We started the brand in Southern California and San Diego. So it kind of has that youthful, beachy type vibe, mainly because there's a lot of, with this brand, it's our heritage is really from water and being on like the beach and water activities, that kind of a thing. So really we had this objective we have the overarching campaign, but we have this objective to build this targeted summer campaign during our peak buying season. So our buying season is usually around May through July. So we're rolling up on that right now. This one is a previous campaign. This is not a current campaign that we've ran. So this is kind of why I'm speaking to it. But really our goal here was to just increase the aided and unaided brand awareness, along with the purchase consideration for the LifeProof brand and product. So really we saw a problem with our LifeProof brand, and we continue to see a little bit of this, but as we're evolving as a company and as a brand, we're starting to kind of mitigate that risk. But the risk here is that our brand is slowly declining and it's slowly becoming less relevant to a consumer. Not many people are wanting waterproof phone cases as what they used to, mainly because devices are being built with some sort of water resistant, pretty much. So they're not all technically waterproof, but there is that resistance there. So people are trusting that their phones aren't going to get as damaged. But so really what we're trying to do is drive some sort of consideration or awareness back up for the brand. So what are those things that we can possibly do? So really what we did as a brand team is built this plan of action. There's a lot of brainstorming that goes into this prior to really rolling this out. So no one just goes, oh, this is the thing, we're going with it. There's a lot more of steps to this. But what we came up with was this $25,000 gap year giveaway. So we had 4 winners we were gonna pick, but what we were gonna do is build like a full media buy for this, have working with influencers, working with our paid media team, our email team. So we have a full database of people that we work with, or people that we already have in-house with our own database. So whenever you sign up for emails or whenever you purchase, typically you go into an email database and then we email you for direct to consumer type response campaigns. But this one was the $25,000 gap year giveaway. And then we also had our evergreen campaign, which was that really awful video that was like choppy and everything at the very beginning. But it's our Live Full Time campaign. So sort of like get out, get living, don't have like, basically like the vibe of it is more of like, we can stand by your side while you do everything and anything that you want. So you know that your phone is always going to be like protected, or it always looks cool, that kind of a thing. And then again, our goal here was still to increase unaided and aided brand awareness along with purchase consideration. And so I don't know if you guys have learned a little bit about like the marketing funnel, but sort of plays into that. So the aided, unaided awareness is just the top of the funnel. So as you get lower down into the funnel, there's like consideration, which is more of like that think activity. And then there's more of like do. So we just want them to purchase. So hopefully what we're doing is driving top of funnel reaction and awareness. So then that way we can drive them further down the funnel with remarketing strategies, things like that. Sweet. So I'm just kind of going to go through this of like, here's kind of sort of how we get to building out our full campaign for specifically around like that gap year idea that we sort of established. So our brand marketing team presents that POA. So basically it's plan of action. And the goals to the integrated team. So we have different teams across our brands. So across our marketing function and like the whole team. So basically we have like a in-house creative team. We have a media team. So they do all of like our paid media strategies. They work with an agency partner. We have our e-commerce team, which is our website, and then PR is in-house, and then also our social team, events team, things like that. So there's a lot of different functions. So not all of these will be, actively doing something, right? So maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense to have like a full-fledged event. Maybe there's a global pandemic. We probably shouldn't be doing an event, right? Like there might be some of these things where we have people in different areas, or maybe we don't activate on that specific team. So the next thing is what we do is we take that, we then present that over to our creative team. They start ideating out like, what does this look like? How does it feel? How does it fit within our full LifeProof Live Full Time brand campaign? So that way it's not this like completely different campaign that makes absolutely no sense to the overarching campaign. So what happens is that then the team, our creative team, sort of brings up this like, here's this story or like this vibe that I kind of put here. And this is actually what we had. It kind of gives you a little bit of like this paragraph, or this set here is like more of like that established kind of look and feel of what we're going to kind of go for, that also plays a little bit into currently what we're doing. So that way it's not this completely separate campaign that, maybe someone's introduced to the brand in this campaign versus our overarching campaign. So that way there's not something that's like really off here. So our media team then builds out and presents a full funnel media strategy. So that funnel that I was just kind of talking about with our agency partners, and then establishing those goals. So, the established goals that were already there. So they're working off of that. So basically they kind of are given briefed in, and then they'll start figuring out, okay, based on budget, here's kind of what we're thinking. And this is going to be the most effective with your dollars. And then our PR team, organic, social, events, e-com, everyone else, email, those types of people will present their plans of actions for their specific areas to help support this. Like, emails might be shooting out, 4 different emails during this time period, during the initial sign up period, right? Like we're trying to get people to sign up for this gap year giveaway. And then what happens is our creative team, all of that creative, that idea that we had here is approved with everyone, so we're all on the same page. And then what they'll do is if it's like deemed necessary, what we'll do is we'll build out a photo shoot to build all of the assets that will be then used for that campaign. So all of the teams will have similar looks and feels for that full campaign, and then that creative production would begin. So this is also a video. Clearly the videos aren't working. So this was kind of like one of those other videos. I'm just going to play it and see what happens. But this is sort of like what our creative team sort of came up with. And then this was after the photo shoot. They kind of put everything together. This was just one of the videos that we're playing socially. Basically, you would like be scrolling through Instagram and see this pop up.
They always say, if you can dream it, you can do it. But they never tell you how to pay for it. Food, rent, clothes, tuition. It adds up. Bottom line, real life gets in the way of real living. So we're giving you a chance to chase a dream and live full time with the Life Proof Gap Year. It's a giveaway. If you win, you take time off to pursue your passion, and we help pay for it to the tune of 25 grand.
Sweet, that one worked. So this is sort of like what they came up with. And we kind of went with like a lot of like emojis and like really trying to focus socially on this. So that's kind of the imagery that we kind of came up with here. So these are sort of like our banner ads, certain types of ads that will be seen throughout kind of a lot of different paid media areas. So you'll likely see this on like some retargeting. So I'll kind of show you sort of like some examples of this and where it was placed later. But sort of that visual was like, okay, we're kind of targeting college age students because of the gap year idea. So after college, you're going to like take off a year and go do whatever you want. So we're giving you $25,000 to do that. And then what we would have done, what we did end up doing was working with those 4 winners and then creating content with them and kind of telling their stories as they go. And kind of like this mutual handshake of like, sort of like an influencer in a way, but making them become sort of like that brand storyteller. And then we just execute on this. So now that we have all of the assets, they start running and go during the allotted time periods. So paid media, what they ended up doing was this full media buy with 2 separate but complementary campaigns. So continuing on with our Live Full Time campaign. And then we had Gap Year as one of our main drivers. So really what we were trying to do is drive traffic for those signups. We had a sign up page where you could just like enter all of your information. They had to like upload a video and do all this really cool stuff. And then we also started targeting certain universities in the areas that we saw a lot of engagement with Life Proof or awareness of Life Proof. So just driving that in those specific regions, mainly like around like certain coastal areas. We actually saw a lot of interactions with like in the Midwest as well, which was interesting. And then our email team clearly used the targeting and kind of our database, and then understood that we had high open rates with certain types of emails. So they kind of have this like whole database of understanding, like, like you don't typically get emails because you don't open them at all. So like sometimes those people won't get emails like this, but like people who are high openers were getting these emails targeted towards them. So hopefully then they could tell their friend, or maybe they would be interested in doing this as well. And then these were these sort of these digital media placements with those similar ads that that video that I kind of showed you. I think they're going to play. So we'll just kind of tap through this, but you can see how what we did was we broke them down and built them specifically for each platform to make sure that there wasn't this like, the same television style ad that was running on, an Instagram placement or a Snapchat or placement or a TikTok placement, something like that. So they're all going to run. So we're just going to pass through that. Let's see here.
We're giving you a chance to chase a dream to the tune of 25 grand with the LifeProof Gap.
So like this one's totally set up quite a bit different than what the original one was, and that was on purpose because of the placement, making sure that it's appropriate for that that medium. And then you can see here some examples of like those swipeable ads on Facebook. Facebook and Instagram are basically brother and sister, so they would look the same on Instagram as well. And emails here, we had that live full time sort of ad or sort of vibe that was running within our emails. And then you can see the placements here on an article placement. So working with a vendor that would put our placements on things like Pop Sugar or BuzzFeed, like that type of stuff. Ecom, what we did was reskin the website to help support this. So there was an easy navigation to get to Gap Year. And then also like just having it be visually similar. So that's why Gap Year is really similar to sort of like what we were going for with Live Full Time. So that way it kind of played the same way. And then you can see here, this was whenever we actually selected our winners. Yeah, they all came out to San Diego and we interviewed them and ended up picking 4 really, really awesome people with some really cool stories that then we were able to use in marketing later. Let's see if this will change. And then our PR team. So any of you that are interested in PR. So what was happening was we work with an agency typically to help with pitching. And then we have our own in-house team that really works on really leading that agency. So they're not the ones actually physically calling anyone or emailing, trying to pitch to media, but we're really guiding them. So what they were doing was pitching Gap Year to like relevant publications. There wasn't a lot of interest from media whenever it came to Gap Year. There was a little bit in the very beginning because it's such a high dollar amount. And especially we were doing like 4 different people. And then really within PR, a lot of times it's really heavily focused on product launches. So whenever we were launching, like here, this is our power pack that we had. So really it's like around kind of like the product story, a lot of gift guides, those types of things that you'll typically see every year. And then from an organic social perspective, this is one that I kind of helped lead, but establishing like that CTA, we have like an overall CTA that we were running for the Live Full Time campaign, which is like show us your proof. So we had these ongoing influencer relationships that would use that sort of hashtag to kind of like put all of our content sort of together. And then really it was just to help drive awareness around that LifeProof brand and in consideration to our targeted audiences. And then for Gap Year specifically, we had posts that we were posting out on our own social channels to help drive awareness. We had like Instagram stories, we had Instagram posts, we had Facebook posts, things all like, all on organic social. And then we had an influencer campaign that was separate from our overarching LifeProof Live Full Time campaign that was specific to just drive signups, which I think 3 of the winners actually came from social. So you'll sort of see that here. I don't know if these are going to play. This is an Instagram story that we did. It was sort of that tappable story here. And then this is kind of like our Instagram feed. This is whenever we announced our winners. And then we did those influencer campaigns. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Girl with No Job on Instagram. We worked with her.
Honestly, I'm just like on vacation and I'm realizing how being an adult is so hard and truly problematic. I just want to get away, like take a year off and just relax. LifeProof is actually hosting a $25,000 gap year giveaway so you can live a less ordinary life and just spend days like this in the sun, getting tan in heart-shaped sunglasses and a t-shirt. If you want to learn more, you can enter. It's a $25,000 gap year giveaway hosted by LifeProof. Swipe up, check it out. And if you win and you don't take me, I will be upset.
So we ended up working with her and a couple of different other influencers, and then also working with some media partners, specifically to social media, like Betches. If you guys follow Betches, it's a really great account. It's really funny. But we worked with them. They kind of like built out this content. I worked back and forth on kind of the direction of where we were wanting to go with it. And we ended up going with this one. And we got quite a few. Actually, I think most of our, I think the 3 of those winners came from Betches specifically. So this is sort of just the ongoing Live Full Time campaign that we had. So you can see here.
I want to show you my new case. It's the slam piece from Life.
I don't know if you can hear this, but
I got my
sort of like that typical influencer style content. And then for events alongside with social, we were just doing stuff that was then helping with the Live Full Time campaign. So we were doing some activations. This is prior to 2020. So we were doing some activations with a lot of gyms throughout the United States. So we partnered with some social media influencers. We went to like San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, and traveled all over to put on these like special like sponsored workouts to help drive awareness around LifeProof. We did like a bunch of giveaways, but a lot of times it was like working with these influencers in these specific markets and then making sure that they were kind of driving the awareness to get people to come. And then we like interacted with them one-on-one in person, which was really fun. It's kind of this unique way of interacting with people right there. And I think this one just kind of shows some of those Instagram stories of the fitness studios that we went to. And everyone who attended ended up getting product from us. They ended up getting product from us. We like hooked all of them up, and they were all like super, super excited. So then they were all then organically posting on social and talking about our brand, tagging us. We were retagging them. So yeah, it's pretty great. So I guess one thing for you all, whenever it comes to building out sort of like a full brand campaign or a campaign that you're maybe working on in class, I just remember in our campaigns class, my senior year, we kind of had to group up. I don't know if you all still do that, but we had to group up and sort of build out a campaign for an actual client, a client with an issue or a problem that they come up with an objective or whatever. And so one thing that really helps is really figuring out like who can focus on what. So then that way you can progress towards your goal. So the nice thing is within most marketing organizations, we have certain specialized positions, but we also have like an overarching brand position that kind of helps guide the ship. But then there's everyone else that's really boots on the ground and figuring out how do we activate against like, these outlined goals, et cetera. So really, I think figuring out some of those people who are really good at certain things. So maybe one of you is like an actual like influencer on Instagram. It might be really helpful to have them help lead an idea around like influencer strategy or organic social media strategy, or even paid social strategy. Along with like someone who maybe is like a rock star who had like a great internship at a PR agency or something, like maybe have them focusing on like PR. And then we luckily had someone that was like really, really creative and really wanted to own the creative. So we were able to like kind of really understand everyone's skills and assign certain things to certain people based on sort of like what their passions were laid out in. So also, finding the most organized person to lead the team. Usually your project manager is that person, maybe assigning a project manager. It's always really helpful because there are usually so many different moving pieces to a campaign that that you just, you're so thankful whenever you have that person that is just super organized, maybe has out like the really great Excel, like find that person, be their friend, find the people that are usually not as, if you're not as good in something, be friends with that person and to really lean in with them. And usually that's super helpful, especially whenever it comes to like group projects or building out a campaign in general. And also another pointer here is just to brainstorm effectively. So really having like a moment at my old agency at Miscellaneous, what we would do is sit around for a client and we would just start throwing things at a wall. Like our objective here was like, one thing we did when I was there, we worked with Schnucks and we did 2 years of their April Fools, so which is tomorrow. But one idea, we were just like running things. We're like, what can we do? What would be really fun? What would stop people on social media? What would just like make people be like, what the heck is happening? So one idea was like a hovering cart. So a cart that's like on a hover, basically it would just like float around the store. And then there was an idea that was changing Schnucks and rearranging the letters to hunks. And it was like shirtless men and working at the checkout counters. And there was like all of these different ideas. One was like putting a Schnucks in the arch in St. Louis. And saying that, Schnucks bought the arch and they're turning it into a grocery store. That's actually one we did one year. So really like throwing out all of those ideas. There's not really dumb ideas. I think there's just like a really creative thing in a moment where you're just like tossing out anything and everything that you're thinking about and like putting it all on a wall and then being like, okay, let's close this down and then let's be realistic. Like, would this be obtainable with our budget? It's like, oh, okay, no, maybe not this one, but this one's really fun. Like, let's keep this one here. And then you can start narrowing things down as you go. And yeah, it's just one of those things I think a lot of people like will be super critical in the very beginning towards, especially if you're in a group, towards someone's idea that might be like completely insane. But maybe that insane idea will then lead you to an idea that's like super creative and really different, especially when you're working in an agency world. So yeah, do any of you have any questions at all? I kind of just like ran through that super quick and I don't know if I can stop sharing. Here we go. Does everyone want to work like in an agency or do you guys want to work on a brand side? Does everyone want to work in PR?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
How often do you do like new campaigns instead of continuing?
Yeah, so I think it just really depends on the brand. So for us specifically, we've decided to go like we used to change it every fall. There's a thing that comes out that you guys are probably aware of that our brand has to activate on. So if you think about it, you're probably holding one in your hand and it probably looks like this. So used to what we would do is we would change our campaigns every fall and then it would become this like fall campaign and then there would be this other campaign that would start. So really we've changed that now to where we have like an overarching campaign that's very long term. So we've actually shifted our campaign. This is an older campaign that I showed you, but we've actually shifted them now to, for Life Proof specifically, it's life balance. So it's about like the balance of your life. We've changed the brand a little bit to be more around focusing on sustainability and building sustainable cases from like ditched fishing nets. So we build like, one of our cases was like built mainly from recycled fishing nets. Mainly kind of going back to the heritage of the brand being that we kind of started out in water and now we're kind of supporting waterways by using things and that technically would be polluting them if we didn't use them. So yeah, and then on the OtterBox side, we're doing sort of the same approach, not the same campaign, of course, but it's more of like this live connected idea. So then that way all of our products fit within this brand campaign because OtterBox is a much more complex brand. There's phone cases, there's mobile like accessories being like power to glass for your screens. Now they're doing like kids stuff. We're doing gaming now. And we also have an outdoor division. So it's a very complex brand. So having this overarching campaign that is long lasting makes a lot of sense because it can sometimes be really confusing to a consumer when you start changing things constantly and having different campaigns. So yeah, we have one that's pretty much ongoing. It's been the same for about a year and a half or so, but yeah, there's a lot of moving parts and moving pieces. So again, like we do smaller campaigns that kind of ladder up into the overarching campaign every so often if we're wanting to do like, a hype during a certain time period, especially during like fall. That's usually one of those time periods. Fall and holiday are really big for us. Hello.
So, how did your team come up with like the overall set of that campaign? The few things I saw, like you talked about, the target group was 20 to 40, but like the gap year is meant for like right after college, so it's like kind of contradicting, and like the age group is quite big. So I was just wondering how you guys came to that conclusion of the aesthetic.
Yeah, so that's actually shifted. So before we were a little bit younger. So this was like this is a campaign from 2019, but I mean it's a great question. So really, what we were trying to focus on was trying to get awareness of younger consumers. So then that way they would like kind of grow and graduate with us, and then you would kind of be purchasing with us as you start building your income. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we work for a brand that has we have two different brands, right? So we have one brand that's sort of in the same category. So how do we not compete against one another? So we really shift and focus, like Life Proof is specifically on more of like a younger youthful active adult, we call them, successful individual, and then OtterBox is specifically for, we call them a casual mature adult. So they're a little bit more older. But yeah, I mean, it's a really great question. It's tough sometimes because we come out with certain products that maybe the Life Proof consumer would like. And it's not usually like a threat to us because it's all within the money still comes into our own pocket, right? So, I mean, it is a great question, but really with this one, it was more about targeting the kind of like younger demographic. So it was like early 20s to mid 20s that we saw with gap year. Was a lot of people will, even go into work for like a year or so and be like, I don't want to do this for right now. I want to kind of go and do something fun while I'm young. And I mean, we had all different ages that were applying for it. And we ended up with the winners. They were mostly like right out of college. So they were right at like 20, they were like between 23 or like, sorry, 22 and then like 26 maybe. So it kind of fit within like right exactly what we were looking for. And then it also, whenever we were doing this, it wasn't just anyone. So it was an application process. You had to submit a video, you had to do all of this stuff. There was more to it. But whenever we got that, we then ended up having like this really cool storytelling piece from each of those women that ended up winning. So one of them like went on like this cool, like she wanted to be like a professional fly fisherman. I think she's never fished in her life. And so she moved from Texas and went up to Montana, came out here to Colorado, and yeah, became like this professional fisherman. The other one wanted to be an archaeologist. So she's moving to Israel and becoming an archaeologist. And this was helping her. Yeah, so all different kinds of people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Hi.
I'm one of the PR professors, but I'm sad I wasn't here when you were here because I'm relatively new. What do you think? How well prepared were you for the real world when you left here? And what advice do you have for them while they're still here? Like, is there something you wish you would have done as a student while you were here, or just kind of like, how did the program prepare you, and any advice you have for them?
Sure. Yeah. I loved being at SEMO. It was really fun, and I met so many different people. I think like being here and being involved and doing things outside of just what you're doing in your normal classwork is so important. Again, I attribute like everything that I did, like where I am today, I attribute to a lot of it's like to Dr. Gonders, who was there like previously. She was super encouraging and pushing all of us to kind of really push our limits and figure out what we wanted to do. And One thing is like PR is not the be all end all. It's not the only thing that is available with a degree in public relations. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of sort of got stuck on sometimes, where they were like, but I don't know if PR is for me. And it's like, that's okay. It's like a very flexible degree as long as you have a degree. And one thing too is like what I would always say is really search for internships. I know a lot of people were, get stuck on being like, great, I have an unpaid internship. Sometimes that's okay, but there are paid ones out there. Luckily, whenever I went to Golan in Chicago, I had a paid internship. I didn't know if I was going to get a paid internship or not, but really like just networking. I mean, every event that you're able to go to virtually or in person is really an opportunity for you. Like you're going to meet so many different people, and so many people that I met from national conference to regional conference, I still talk to and I'm still friends with today. And now they work, I have friends that work for like GM in Detroit. I have friends that work for Spotify. Like it's nice because I've built this like network of connections outside of just my own PRSSA friends at SEMO. But yeah, I mean, it's just this really great opportunity for you to really network with people outside of just Southeast Missouri, because I know what it feels like. It feels sometimes that like Southeast Missouri is so small, but there are so many different opportunities there. Like I luckily went to Red Letter, and that was back whenever they were downtown, but I had a friend that worked there, and ended up, I chatted with one of the HR directors, and she knew I was a PRSSA student and a PR student at SEMO, and she spoke, and I ended up talking with her, and I ended up getting an internship that was paid. And then they hired me part-time to help with some digital content strategy for them for a couple of their brands. And a lot of it is like busy work and you're trying to figure it out, but honestly, you have to pay your dues in the beginning. And I'm just like, most of us are just like, I'm just happy to be here. Like just having a really positive attitude with it and understanding that, you're not going to be like the brand manager, the brand director, like right out of college. It's just not going to happen. So really understanding that and being okay with that is great. But again, I think like, not all, like I was really focused on like what I saw whenever I was there was when I was at SEMO is there wasn't a lot of strong talk about like digital and social. And that was something that was like, okay, how do I learn more about this? Because I'm not technically getting a lot of it at SEMO. So that's why I got involved with PRSSA, and then ended up, just learning on my own, and then getting like internships and things like that to really learn more about that. And it just really helped with, skills and everything else. But especially like that junior year, between junior and senior year, there's a lot of opportunity for internships or just trying to get your foot in the door, and feel free to like get involved with any networking things, like especially on LinkedIn. There's a lot there that a lot of people might not even realize. I'm a part of a group called NetNet Synergy that was led now by one of the senior communications managers for Taco Bell. Is a good friend of mine. So it's just, yeah, I mean, I can send that over to you all afterwards too, if you want to join that group. They always are sending all of these job postings for like internships to entry-level positions and that type of stuff. So yeah, I know, I'm just like, I remember living in Cape, and I was between my junior and senior year, and I had to come back from Chicago, living like a summer in Chicago, and then coming back to Cape for a year. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm ready for life to get going. But it's like, I was really happy I networked and had all of those people for references for positions, and ended up going the route I did.
Well, a couple of follow-up things.
Sure.
As an alumni and former student of Susan's, I think that you would be happy to know that she retired in December, and she moved to the Branson area to be closer to her boat.
She's gonna be on her boat. Yeah, I've I've heard.
Calls me 2 or 3 times a week. We talked last night. She's very happy, doing very well.
Great. That's great to hear.
Also, would you be willing to share your PowerPoint? Because I thought one thing I might do is email that to the students who couldn't come.
Sure.
Just so, also, I should have asked you before we started, so I'll delete if it's not okay. I was recording this session to share with students who couldn't come. Do you have a problem with that? Because
No, that's fine.
The recording.
Yeah, no, nothing of this is proprietary, so it's all stuff that's been told. So we're good.
I asked ahead of time, but the technology messed me up. But I'd like
You're
to
okay.
share it with students who weren't able to come.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then the third thing I'd like you to know is that we are changing our curriculum, and there's going to be much more of an emphasis on social and digital.
Great.
Because, we recognized as a faculty that we needed to bring that in. So I think that that's happening, which is a good thing. Dr. Kavanaugh is teaching social media, and we have a lot more emphasis on digital now, with other professors who are teaching things like media elements. But
Great.
so
You
anyway,
also have to tell Dr. Buck I said hello. She's amazing.
she's got a perfect here now. I don't know
Yeah,
if you-
I've
yeah.
heard. Yeah, she's amazing. I had her for comm law is one of the most fun classes I've ever had. And I still remember that class every day. So, and there's a lot to it that you learn in that class that you're like, this is so hard, or this is just like, it's terrible sometimes. But when you're in and out of college and you're like in the real world, you work with legal all of the time. So, yeah.
She is our chair, but I'm going to relinquish the microphone now. Anybody else have a question? Okay, I think we're out of questions. Any last comments or anything?
No, I can send you guys my email and everything. It's my first dot last name at otterproducts.com. One suggestion to you all, whenever you have a guest presentation or presenter, and I'm not saying you have to do this with me, but just something I learned was I always sent thank you notes to all of those people that presented. And you would have no idea how nice that was now to get them. And then it's so flattering to them, to the presenter, that you actually listened and you like took your time to be there. And one thing is like I ended up getting my internship because I sent a thank you note to someone. And it was just one of those things. He said to send me his resume or my resume, and then I ended up getting like one of my biggest internships ever in my college career. So I would just encourage you to really stay involved with PRSSA. And if you ever have questions or need someone to talk to outside of normal PRSSA people, I'm always happy to chat, or you can shoot me an email, and I'm happy to review resumes, like whatever you need, just let me know. I'm happy to help. Great. It was nice to meet you all. Thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Of course. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. And I'm not going to turn this off because Mackenzie's still with us online. I think Mackenzie's still on there. Yeah. I did want to thank Tia for bringing us that program on eBreak. I did want to recommend something we could do in April. We were talking about what we could do in April. And I believe 5 of the officers are going to Leadership Conference April 9th. I think there's 5 of you. What if we met the last Wednesday of April, because that way we have time to promote it, and you guys report back to Leadership Conference about what you learned. I think that would be a good program. And then we could also see what officers we need to elect for next year. We've got some people, but we've got our president-elect and we've got our publicity, but I'm going to look at our what's it called, our constitution and bylaws, and see what other officers we could have. We need to check to see if Nick wants to continue as secretary. So would the last Wednesday of the month of April work, you think? And then the program could just be you guys. The idea for leadership conferences, normally we send one person because we have to fly them. And this year, because it's virtual, we're going to have 5. And so the idea is to kind of catch fire. We're hoping that you guys will get really excited. Hopefully the program's good. PRSSA usually puts on pretty good programs. So you guys can report what you learned, and then we can talk about leadership for next year, and maybe even in May, if we have time, we'll see, we could do some planning for the fall. What I've done when I've done PRSSA in other places is I usually have the officers come to my house, I cook for them, and we plan the fall schedule, but with COVID, we haven't been able to do stuff like that. So we can talk, it'd be nice if we kind of knew what we were doing in the fall before the fall arrived. Does that sound like a good plan? because I don't think we have any other scheduled speakers, but hearing from the 5 people in the leadership conference, I think would be good. And then that way too, I can work with Ian and Emily about getting promotion out about that meeting. So I'll send you guys some emails. Also, one of the reasons I wanted to record this event is we haven't done a very good job, and it starts with me, right, about our minutes. This recording creates a transcript. So I'm gonna send those to Nick and ask him to do minutes for today, which basically is some cutting and pasting and putting it, it shouldn't be hard. And so we can start getting our minutes in order. And so, I don't know, does that sound like a good plan for the rest of the year?
So that means you're just meeting once in April?
Well,
Just so we know.
yeah, I think as for a program, the officers might meet another time. You guys might need to meet to figure out what you're gonna say, but I think if we just meet one more time, like, and I'll look up that date and email you guys, but yes, and we're gonna try to do a better job putting programming on as well as communicating it. We've struggled a little, this year just getting the programs on, so, although, not because Tia hasn't worked really hard, she has. But that sounds like a plan. Is what?
April 28th.
April 28th, and we'll get some publicity out next week maybe, or soon. We need to do it definitely sooner. And hopefully that'll be kind of a nice thing, because I hope you guys, I mean, in your case, I know you're leaving us because you're graduating, but hopefully you'll enjoy it too. And Ian is gonna be one of our leaders next year. So, that sounds like a plan. We'll get some, so April 28th out to the riverfront. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for being a part. If we could ever reciprocate somehow, let us know. April 28th at noon in this room, I guess. And then we'll get some publicity out about it. Because I think with graduation, I don't know, do you want to try to meet in May? I think at the end of the school year.
I can make it happen either way.
What I would normally do is, I would normally have a barbecue, or of course I live too far out now, but I would normally have some kind of pizza party, but I don't know if we're even allowed to do that. Are we allowed to
I
do
have a
that?
screened in porch. You have it in my house. You don't have a very big room.
If we could do like a covered dish, so you wouldn't have to cook much, like we could.
Oh, I was, yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
thought you were
just-
talking about pizza or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, we probably ought to do that. What I would normally do is have a cookout, but I live all the way out in Fruitland. You guys aren't going to want to come to Fruitland. When I lived in Nashville, I lived near Canton. I lived with walking distance. I had students over all the time. But yes, if you don't mind, we'll order pizza or something, and I'll bring dessert.
So what day are you guys planning on doing this?
We want to do it. When do you do? Don't you do parties for your classes?
Well, I hadn't,
I'm
Well-
trying to tell you that you should. I'm just sometimes. I know you-
434 has a party, but 434 isn't, that's a fall class.
What about the last day of class? Because that's kind of a celebratory day.
So you mean,
Does that work for you, Sarah?
is that the 7th? Do they have, the
So
last Friday, is that a real class or is that not a class day?
That's not a real class, I don't think.
So the 6th would be the last?
May
day?
6th?
Thursday the 6th? The only problem is I have to teach a class around lunchtime. You work only on Thursdays. You wanna do it on Fridays instead?
Any Friday lunch? And thank you for hosting. You guys cool? And we'll get the word out then. That'll be our biggest meeting yet. Free pizza at Dr. Kavanaugh's house.
Yeah, I don't have class on Thursdays or Fridays.
get that you word out next year.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to start the year. So May 6th at
May 7th.
May 7th
Yeah.
at noonish?
Noonish.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kavanaugh. And thank you guys for the support and the effort. Yeah, and Mackenzie, thanks for coming from home.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anything else?
Okay, so what do you guys, I'm just trying to think of some things. So we talked about staging a little social media post so I can get it over the shoulder of that.
We still have another meeting, we might get some stuff out of that. So that was PRSSA, Riverfront needs to meet now. So they meet back to back, yeah.
Okay.
And they'll talk about social media, there might be something in there that you wanna see or get.
Okay, all right. Do you know about how long it's gonna last?
Jake, which thing?
I didn't know how long I would need to be in here.
Everyone was landing at 1:20. It's a brief meeting anyway. Cool.
So it's like another 20 minutes.
Hey, Mackenzie, I think we're signing off.
That's great, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.